Cara Davy here, and welcome back, or welcome, or all the welcoming, whatever welcome applies to you, to my virtual yoga studio here on YouTube. It's been several months since I have shared a practice in this virtual space, so first let me just say I'm so grateful to have the technology and the space to share virtual practice. I've missed it, and I'm glad to be back. I launched a podcast. I have been working through my last several semesters of graduate school. I'm studying to become a social worker, so life has just been full and other things have shifted to the forefront, but it's really important to me and dear to my heart to share free, accessible digital practice. So here we are again, and I'm glad you're here. And accessible is kind of the name of the game for this particular practice that we're gonna do, because we're gonna do some chair yoga. We're gonna do a chair-supported yoga practice together. So before I talk a little more about that, I'll let you know that you'll probably want to grab a chair. And I'm in this little bitty chair that my roommate brought to our shared home that we live in together. You can use any chair that you want. I would suggest one that doesn't have arms, just to keep your range of motion open, but if it has arms, you can make it work. I would also suggest a chair that's low enough to the ground that you can put your feet on the floor, but if that's not possible, you could use blocks or books or something other than, something kind of supportive and thick, whatever you have at home, to bring the floor closer to you. So take a moment and maybe get situated in your chair. You could also do this on a couch. You could do this on your living room ottoman. You could do this on your bed. Anywhere that you can sit upright, have a pretty open range of motion for your arms and your legs, and put your feet on the ground is good. So as you get set up, I will say that I'm here on my back porch in my new home that I moved into in April. That's another thing that's been happening since I recorded a digital class. And so in my backyard, you might hear some neighborhood sounds, some city sounds, and we'll just use those as teachers, right? Teachers of staying present and staying in the practice as best we can, because it's kind of how life is, right? There are a million different things to pull our attention away from our present moment experience. And those of us on the path of yoga, consciousness, spirituality, have decided to say, I'm going to try to be present anyway, despite all of those wild things, despite whatever distractions or hardships might be around us. So that matters, and thank you for doing it. So hopefully by now you're set up in your chair, and I'm going to talk to you for just a moment about why chair yoga. I've been teaching chair yoga for a really long time. It was actually the first type of yoga that I learned and specialized in beyond just sort of the classical, flowing through the poses movement. This is the first sort of specialized kind of yoga I learned and started to teach. About a year after I started teaching, I got an opportunity to work with some seniors at a church in doing chair yoga, and so I learned this practice and specialized in it, and that was about 6 or 7 years ago. So I've been doing this for a while, and it, again, as one of the first specialized yoga practices I learned, it's really close to my heart, so it kind of lights me up to be able to share it again. And for a few weeks I was actually teaching a regular weekly chair yoga class, a virtual class, which was really sweet, but it didn't end up working out to be a long-term thing, and so I want to be able to share chair practice for the folks who were in my classes and are missing it, and just because I believe in it so very much, and I was, through this opportunity to teach it for a few weeks, I was reminded of how much I love and believe in it. So one of the kind of fundamental benefits of chair yoga is accessibility. It does provide us an extra kind of grounding and stability and support to make different shapes more accessible, more doable for any kind of reality that we might be experiencing in our bodies. But that doesn't mean it's only for people who have a certain kind of body. It can absolutely be beneficial to folks who, are in bodies that have disabilities, are in larger bodies, just have a different range of motion, different physical ability. But that doesn't mean that there's some kind of stereotype that chair yoga is only for certain types of people. Everyone, regardless of the reality we live in our bodies, can use extra support and grounding, and chair yoga offers that. And beyond just the accessibility, it also offers us creativity. It just especially for those of us who practice, kind of the classical, maybe flow, maybe like regular, quote unquote, regular yoga asana. It offers us a chance to kind of get out of our regular habits and practice differently, to be creative with how we approach the practice. And creativity is fuel for transformation, right? In the yoga philosophy, the teaching is that creative energy is the energy that fuels the universe. It's the energy that keeps things moving and transforming. So when we take an opportunity to do something different and be creative, we are kind of opening ourselves up to be in a space of transformation. So chair yoga is for everyone. It is both for accessibility and creativity, and it can just be something fun and new and supportive and grounding. So those are all the intentions I'm offering to you. I'm gonna stop talking now and we're gonna start practicing. So by now, hopefully you're in your chair, and I'm gonna invite you to scoot your tailbone up a little closer to the edge of the chair, if that feels okay. And then put your feet on the ground underneath your knees with your toes pointing straight ahead. So you might look at your feet and just get your toes kind of straight out in front of you, and maybe start to grip the earth. Press your 10 toe pads into the earth, into the floor. It's a grounding practice, and since we kind of stay connected to the ground through chair yoga, we have plenty of opportunity to get grounded through this practice. And the reason I asked you to scoot up a little closer to the edge of your chair is because even though we have the support of the chair, we still want to sit with a long spine. Anytime we're doing yoga practice, we tend to prioritize a long spine. And the reason for that is the spine is the center line of the body. And so it's kind of where all of our energy moves, where all the signals of our nervous system move. So when it's long, everything can just move freely, and there's a sense of openness and connection. So I'll invite you to lengthen your spine, perhaps just using the strength of your own spine. Maybe not leaning into the back of the chair, but using your own spine. That doesn't mean you can't, though. You can absolutely scoot backward and put your spine on the chair back and use that extra support, but I'll still invite you to keep your spine long and resist kind of rounding backward into the chair back. So finding our first yoga posture of this chair yoga practice, our comfortable seat. I'm going to take you through kind of the full sequence of how I teach a chair yoga class, which is a head to toe warm up and mobility sequence, and then we play with a couple of chair supported poses, and then we sit for some breath and meditation with the support of the chair. And we start right here in a comfortable seat. You can rest your hands and arms however you want and need to. Maybe palms facing down on your lap, which is another grounding practice. Maybe palms turned up, which is a receiving or energizing gesture. If there's any other hand placement you're familiar with, go for it. I'll invite you on an inhale to squeeze your shoulder blades up towards your ears, and then as you exhale, roll them backward and down. Let them settle a little further down away from your ears and a little further backward in space so that the center of your chest lifts and you're sitting in the posture of an open heart for your first yoga pose. And then feel free to close your eyes, gaze down the tip of your nose, or gaze at the floor. Whatever feels supportive and safe and okay for you, to kind of let go of your external gaze, let go of all the noise, the data, the information, the tension, the chaos of the external world, and prioritize your internal world, at least for the next few minutes. That idea of choosing to be present anyway, that fundamental idea of yoga and consciousness, which is the work that this practice is based in. And one of our most accessible and clear tools for being present anyway is the breath. The breath is a present moment experience. And so maybe you start to watch the pattern of your breathing as you inhale through your nose and exhale through your nose. Nostril breathing, if that's possible for you today. Just a signal to your nervous system that you can settle. And you just watch the breath, almost like it's the sky or a bird or the ocean. Not something you have to change or judge, but just observe. Observing the present moment reality of the breath as a way of stepping into the presence of your practice. Arriving in the presence of your practice. talked about kind of letting go of the external chaos to prioritize the internal. And one thing I know is that since I recorded my last video about 5 months ago, the world has only gotten more chaotic. So it matters a lot that you're showing up here. So we'll take one more deep breath in to settle. Full exhale through the nose, and as you exhale, tuck your chin towards your chest. Drop your shoulders way down, away from your ears. Soften your jaw and really allow your chin to hinge downward. But at the same time, imagine the vertebra of your neck pressing higher up toward the ceiling or the sky above you. So you get this rounding in your neck and a stretch from the back of your skull to your neck, the top of your shoulders. As your chin and head tilt down, maybe you kind of imagine that as directing your energy downward, just dropping your energy into your body, into the ground, and grounding in. We're going for our full body mobility and warm up, and it goes head to toe. So we're starting here at the neck and skull, just with a neck stretch. As we add movement to this practice, I'll invite you to continue to prioritize the present moment experience of your breath or the sensations of your body, anything that keeps you in that intention of showing up to the present anyway. On your next inhale, start to tilt your chin back to center and then take it all the way up, looking up, not going so far that it feels like you're compressing the back of your neck, but just finding a stretch in your throat. Jaw stays soft, and maybe the stretch in your throat emphasizes your breath, and you can use this front of the neck stretch as a space for even more breath awareness. Maybe you imagine as you look up, sending your energy, your awareness up, kind of connecting with something that's bigger than you, which is another one of the tools of practice. Just getting out of our own stuff to get a little more expansive. On your next exhale, bring your chin back to center. As you inhale, look over your right shoulder, just with your neck. Keep both shoulders pulling back and down, jaw soft, and you just take a light twist through the vertebra of your neck. Imagine you could look all the way to the right, taking in everything that's around you, kind of grounding your nervous system in your senses and what you can see and hear. Over here, there's obviously some construction happening, so I'm grounding in that, in my senses. On your next exhale, come back to center, and then inhale, do the same thing, other side. Look over your left shoulder. Taking in everything to this side of you as you take a light twist in your neck. And then come back to center. Take a deep breath in here. As you exhale, drop your right ear to your right shoulder. Now stretching the side of your neck, top of your shoulder. You could stay right here, or you have the option of taking your left arm down beside you, reaching actively down through your fingertips, pressing down through your left shoulder, maybe dialing up the sensation a little bit. You also have the option, just an option, of bending your right elbow, putting your right hand behind your left ear, and lightly pressing your skull into your hand into your skull. Again, just kind of activating the sensation in ways that work for you. Jaw soft, maybe a deeper breath as you breathe into a space where tightness might live, but just pouring in that intention of being present anyway as we work with it. On your next inhale, if you're using your right hand, first float your right arm down beside you. And then rather than moving your head, kind of like a hot air balloon, just imagine floating your head back to center. Allow the top of your spine, your neck, to center for a moment. Then on your next exhale, second side, left ear towards your left shoulder. Maybe reaching downward actively through your right fingertips and pressing down through your right shoulder. Maybe bending your left elbow, taking your left hand behind your right ear, lightly pressing your skull into your hand into your skull. Maybe reconnecting to your breath after you kind of settle your body where it's gonna be. Just back to breath, back to presence. Next, exhale. If you're using your left hand, let that left arm float downward. And then as you inhale like a hot air balloon, float your head back to center. Exhale, just let everything from your skull all the way to your hips and your feet center on the earth. And then we'll move down the body. We're moving into the shoulders now. So as you inhale, I'll invite you to sweep your arms forward and up. As you exhale, make fists and make a trident or a cactus shape with your arms. Bend your elbows beside your shoulders. Squeeze your arm muscles. Squeeze your shoulders close to your spine. And then intentionally pull your arms down in space until they float back down beside you. For a trident glide, some shoulder work. Inhale, sweep your arms forward and up. Exhale, squeeze and glide down, squeezing some tension out of your shoulders if you can. Or maybe just using the intention of squeezing the shoulders out, squeezing tension out of the shoulders. Starting to move with your breath. Inhaling to reach, exhaling to squeeze and glide. So adding another layer to this practice, now a rhythm, a connection between the body and the breath. Another thing to kind of ground us in, to give us a tool to be present here. Notice the sensations that start to build as you move in your body. Again, tools for presence. The body sensations are also present moment experiences. We're gonna take 3 more glides. 2. 1 more time, sweep it up. Squeeze as you exhale. And then we're gonna do that again, but we're gonna take it somewhere else. So inhale, sweep it up. This time, keep your palms open. As you exhale, bend your elbows into your trident or cactus arms. Palms face forward. You can either spread your fingertips wide or close your fingertips together. Just do something purposeful. Keep squeezing your shoulders close to your spine. Now, the muscles under your belly button, bring your awareness there and squeeze those. We're gonna use them to keep us stable as we move and twist. So your feet are gonna press into the floor, your low body's gonna stay stable, and you're gonna twist from your ribs and shoulders, starting to move down the body again into the torso. So as we inhale, turn from your ribs, chest, and shoulders to the right. As you exhale, twist left. Strong breath, whatever that means for you, and your pace. Still squeezing the shoulders, still warming them up here. And then we're starting to move into the ribs, the chest, the belly. Just swiveling in your torso to kind of make more room for your breath, for your heart. But your hips stay pointing straight ahead, feet press into the floor. You're still grounded. Three more. Last one. Come back to center, lift your chest, squeeze your shoulders. As you inhale, reach both arms up. Shoulders are really with us now, most likely. As you exhale, reach your right arm down and either just reach it down in space or grab the seat of the chair or the leg of the chair if those are accessible to you. Inhale, keep reaching your left arm up, and as you exhale, side stretch your upper body to the right. So just leaning to the right, still pressing both feet evenly into the ground. Pressing your left hip into the chair just as much as your right, pulling both shoulders back in space. Then no matter how far over you're leaning, it doesn't really matter because you get to customize each of these shapes and movements to your own body. But no matter how far over you're leaning, as long as you're reaching your top fingertips up, you are stretching the left side of your body. The muscles along the side of your torso that connect to your spine and your heart. Inhale, reach it up, both arms up, and exhale, go to the other side. Either reach your left arm down, just reach it in space, or grab the seat of the chair or the leg of the chair, side stretch your body to the left. Press both feet down, press your right hip down, pull your shoulders backward. Reach your top fingertips up. Maybe reconnect to your breath, your body sensation, everything keeping you present here. And even if you don't feel that present, everything giving you the tools to come back to presence anyway. Inhale, reach it up. Now we're gonna move into a full spinal twist. So on your next exhale, take your left hand, put it on your right knee. Your right arm reaches up, and then from your belly, just like you did when you were twisting with your trident arms, you're gonna turn your ribs, chest, shoulders, and maybe even turn to look toward your right shoulder. Now your right arm can do a few things here. You can reach it down and just kind of drape it over the back of your chair. You can reach it underneath the back of the chair to grab onto the seat of the chair, or you can grab the top of the chair back. Each of those will probably provide a different shoulder sensation, so decide the one that works for you. Press your feet down. Keep pulling your right hip forward so your hips stay square, and then squeeze those low belly muscles, the centering muscles of the core, and turn from your ribs, chest, belly, skull. I'll invite you, if it's something you want to do, to lengthen and deepen your breath as you twist, so that the expansion that happens on your inhale works together with the lengthening happening in your torso as you twist. And the compression and squeezing that happens on your exhale works together with the compression happening in your twist, kind of lightly squeezing out the internal organs here. Just bringing your breath and body together to work with each other in service of your own presence, in service of releasing the tension, being here as best you can. And you're doing it. We'll take a couple more breaths in this twist. Deep breath in. Turn in your twist, whether that's a movement or just a thought, but do it one more time. And then as you inhale, reach both arms up, wind your torso back to center. Exhale, just keep reaching up and allow your spine to be long and neutral for a moment. Maybe notice if there's a difference between your two shoulders. Contrast is another body sensation that can help us be present. Notice how the practice is moving through us. And then we twist to the other side. Right hand to your left knee. Left arm reaches up, squeeze the centering muscles at your low belly, and then start to turn from your ribs, chest, shoulders, maybe turning to look over your left shoulder, maybe just looking straight ahead if that's not the thing to do for your neck. Options for your left arm, you can just drape it over the chair back. You can reach underneath the chair back and thread it through that gap between the seat and the chair back to grab the seat of the chair. You can grab onto the top of the chair back. Ribs, chest, shoulders, maybe skull, turning. Left hip still turning forward, right hip back. So the hips point straight ahead, the torso turns, and we kind of wind the torso to unwind some tension. So maybe you lengthen and deepen your breath to help that happen. Another deep breath in. Turn and twist as you exhale. Inhale, take your arms up, reach straight back to center. As you exhale, I'll invite you to press your palms together and very intentionally pull your hands to your heart. Like you could pull all the connection, all the presence that you've generated so far right to the center of your chest. And just maybe take a moment to notice how that feels before we move into the lower body, moving down the body in this chair mobility practice. Just notice where you are first. We tend to live our lives in a way that has us moving on to the next thing constantly. But maybe our practice offers us a space to live a little differently. So we give ourselves just a little time to integrate and notice all the work we've done so far before we keep going. another deep breath here. Let the breath go. Release your arms, and a few things you can do here. First, I'll invite you to slide a little closer to the edge of your chair so that your thighs are a little further off the chair and they have more room to move, because we're going to start to move the legs. You can grab the seat of the chair if that makes you feel solid. You can put your hands on your hips. There are plenty of things you can do with your arms throughout this next practice, and I'll offer them all to you. So I'm going to put my hands on my hips to start. And then when you're ready, shift a little weight into your left foot, pick up your right foot. You can keep your hands on your hips, the chair, or you can actually, for this next movement, hips or chair is what's gonna work, because we're gonna take the right knee and start to trace a circle in space with the kneecap so that your thigh bone is starting to make a wide circle. By moving the thigh bone around in the hip socket, we create warmth in the hip, which helps us open the hip. It also makes us aware of the tension that lives in the hip. So this is one of those moments where we get to practice breathing and being present anyway. Whew, this one gets warm real quick. Go ahead and switch the direction of your circles. After your next rotation, put your right foot on the floor, second side. Maybe reprioritize lengthening your spine. It's easy to round the back when we do that, and it's okay if that happens, but trying to prioritize that long spine if possible. Shift weighted to your right foot, pick up your left foot, and with a bent knee, begin to trace a circle in the air in front of you with your kneecap, so your thigh starts to move in this wide rotation. Thigh moves around in the hip socket to warm and work with the hip. These are the muscles that we squeeze when we're tense. So this can be a real teaching moment of what tension that we're holding. And we don't have to judge ourselves for that, but we can choose to be present to it. Just like we're trying to be present to everything else, go ahead and switch the direction of your circles. How's your breath? That tool of presence that's still with you. And return your left foot to the floor. Pick up your right foot, and this time you do have the option of interlacing your fingers behind your right thigh to provide some support, maybe some space to lengthen your spine. We're gonna make circles again, but this time we're gonna use the shin. So as your shin points toward the floor, imagine it's like a coffee stirrer, and the ground is coffee, or whatever your drink of choice is, and you're trying to stir it. So your shin is rotating in a circle. The movement is coming from your kneecap. So we're massaging out the knee joint here. Switch the direction of your circles. Release. Right foot to the ground. Prioritize lengthen your spine and switch. Pick up your left foot, interlace your fingers behind your thigh if that feels like the good hand position for you here, and start to rotate. Shin points toward the floor and moves in a circle so that you're massaging out your knee joint. Switch the direction. Left foot to the floor. One more circular sequence on each side. So prioritize that spinal length. Pick up your right foot. Maybe interlace behind your thigh for support. This time, ankle rotations. Moving all the way down. We started at the skull, now we're at the feet. So maybe you imagine that you've just poured yourself into your body and you notice those grounding effects, especially as we work with the feet. The feet are very grounding tools. They keep us connected to the ground. So maybe you notice your ankle bones, the arches of your feet, the space between your toes. It's a really mindful movement, even though it's really simple. And switch the direction. Release your right foot, switching sides. Lengthen your spine, pick up your left foot, maybe interlace behind your thigh if that's your hand position, ankle circles. Noticing, grounding in, present anyway. Switch the direction. Release your left foot down. Lengthen your spine. Position your hands however's comfortable. Maybe palms on your thighs, maybe hands at your heart again. But before we move on to this next segment of our practice, again, just taking a moment to integrate the work that's already happened so that our practice is kind of distinct from the stress of our life and doesn't have to involve us just going all the time. Maybe just stopping to notice. As you do that, you're gonna see me check my time. All right. I don't usually edit things out of my YouTube videos because I can't edit things out when I'm teaching in person or teaching a live class, and I want you to get that experience. So you get the experience of me keeping time as I record here. Maybe take one more deep breath in stillness. And exhale. Now that we have kind of poured ourselves into our bodies from head to toe, this full body mobility warm-up practice, now's the time in chair yoga where we do some different poses. We use the support of the chair to play with some yoga shapes. So remember, you can personalize all of this, and especially with the support of the chair, you can use that for extra accessibility and creativity. But here we go. So continue to sit with your tailbone pretty close to the edge of your chair so you have your thigh bones open and free to move, because we're gonna go into a seated pigeon pose, a deep hip opener here. So we'll start kind of similarly to the way that we just did all that leg work by shifting some weight into your left foot. Pick up your right foot and interlace your fingers behind your thigh or around your shin, but hug your right knee in towards your chest. Your spine might round a little, but resist that by lengthening your chest, pulling your shoulders back. Lengthening your chest forward, I should say. Do a little push and pull. Press your hands into your leg into your hands. That'll activate and stabilize. Now, if you're feeling a lot in your hip here, stay here, or flex your right foot a lot. Flare your toes. That's gonna turn on your lower leg and keep your knee from having to do the work as you use your hands to take your shin and kind of rotate it in front of you and put your right ankle on top of your left knee. So you have this figure 4 shape in your legs. Now, I have relatively open hips. I have been practicing yoga for 8 years. Your hips might not look like that, and it is okay. Your knee might be much higher away from the ground than mine. All good. You might keep interlacing your fingers behind your thigh or use your hands to grab your knee just so that you have some extra support and it doesn't feel like your knee is hanging out in space. But know that as long as you're flexing your foot a lot, your knee is safe. Even as your knee lifts, if it lifts, imagine pressing your knee closer to the ground. Use the muscles alongside your left hip, kind of your glutes, your outer hip muscles, squeeze them and use them to imagine making that happen. I say imagine because your knee might actually press closer to the ground. It might just be a thought. Both are practice. Seated pigeon, lengthening your spine here, positioning your hands wherever it's comfortable, using the deep body sensations that our hips can provide for us as pathways to presence. Option to stay here with your spine upright or hinge at your hips. Keep your spine as long as you can and fold your chest towards your leg. It might go pretty far, it might not at all. It might not be the thing for you to do at all, and you can stay upright. I'll invite you to soften your jaw. Sit with your breath, sit with yourself in this pose. Take a deep breath wherever you are. Let it go. If you're leaning forward, sit upright. Reach down, grab your leg, and help to extract it from your left knee and put it on the ground. Sit and notice if one of your legs feels different than the other. It might feel like one of your hips is closer to the chair, one of your feet is closer to the ground. Contrast, not for judgment, but just to help us keep noticing. Present anyway. Woohoo. And now we switch. So pick up your left foot, interlace your fingers around your thigh or your shin, and just start by pulling your knee towards your chest, lengthening your spine as much as you can. Push and pull to activate and stabilize. Press your leg into your hands, hands into your leg. Stay here or flex your foot, flare your toes first. Get that knee protected. Use your hands to help rotate your shin so that you can put your left ankle on top of your right knee. Again, your knee might be high up, and that's okay. You might grab your thigh or your knee for extra support. But imagine that you could press your knee toward the ground. Whether it moves or not is kind of irrelevant, but the work is happening as you do this external rotation in the hips, rotating the thigh bone open. It's not something that we do a lot throughout our daily lives, and so it can provide us a lot of information around the tension in our hips. It also provides us space to be present around the tension in our hips, which is the first step to letting it go. You can sit in this seated pigeon with your spine upright, or start to hinge at your hips and fold towards your leg with a long spine. Keeping your spine long might mean that you only fold a little, might mean that you fold a lot, might mean that you don't fold at all. Breath in, whatever deep is for you, and let it go. If you're leaning, sit upright. Use your hands to extract your leg. Put your foot on the ground. And now we're going to go into some movement with the breath. There's a movement practice in yoga called sun breaths, and it's kind of the most simple version of a sun salutation, which in yoga involves just linking these foundational fundamental movements with our breath, and this is kind of the most simple version of that, most solid foundational version to get us moving with our breaths, get the spine moving, get the energy flowing. And we can use the support of the chair to do sun breaths in really the most grounded way possible, with our feet and tailbone connected to the ground. So we're going to get moving, we're going to stay grounded. For sun breaths, inhale, sweep both your arms to the skies, lengthen your spine up out of your tailbone. As you exhale, reach your arms wide, squeeze those centering muscles at your low belly to support you as you hinge at your hips, fold over your legs, keeping your spine as long as it can be. Maybe your fingertips come to the floor, maybe you grab your legs, but really let your belly fold over your thighs. Sitting in the chair keeps our knees bent, which actually gives us more space to lengthen the spine here. So you feel that connection between belly and thighs. Press your tailbone, your thigh bones back behind you as you reach the crown of your head toward the floor in front of you, just lengthening your spine in both directions. Softening your shoulders up and back, maybe softening your jaw. Now we're gonna half lift so your fingertips can come to the ground or to your shins. Inhale, reach the crown of your head forward, lengthen your spine halfway, kind of like it's a tabletop, and keep pressing your thighs backward and into the chair. And then exhale, fold over your legs again. We're gonna take it up. As you inhale, squeeze those centering muscles at your low belly. Reach your arms wide, around, all the way up. Palms touch as you exhale, bring your hands to your heart, kind of pulling the connection into your heart again. That's the flow. We're gonna move with the breath, and for you, that means your breath, your pace. Inhale, reach it up. Exhale, fold over your legs. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reach wide and up, reach for connection. Exhale, hands to your heart, pull it all in. Inhale, reach it up. Swan dive down, arms wide, heart forward. Fold over your legs. Half lift and lengthen as you inhale. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reach up, pressing your feet down to keep you stable as you lift. Exhale, gather it in, hands to your heart. And your feet press down this whole time. We have all this grounding to work with. We'll keep going, reach it up. Swan dive down, fold over your legs. Half lift, fold. Reaching up, hands to your heart. 3 more rounds with your breath. Reaching, folding. Half lift, fold. Reach up to the heart. 2 more. Last round. Reaching up. Take it to the heart. Now we're gonna move into our final yoga shape with the support of the chair. And I always close chair yoga with chair pose because I like to be funny and witty and silly and goofy and on theme like that. So your tailbone is still relatively close to the edge of your chair if that's accessible for you. Your feet can stay hip width apart, or you can heel toe them in so your big toes touch and there's a little half an inch of space between your heels. This will probably give you a little more momentum to squeeze your thighs in toward one another. But as you do that, imagine pressing your feet apart. So thighs hug in, feet press apart, and that's gonna activate your legs. And keep in mind, you can do that with your feet hip width apart also, especially if there's anything going on in your lower back. Now, just like we did a moment ago, inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, swan dive down, fold over your legs. Now, recommit to those legs. Squeeze your thighs in, press your feet apart, squeeze the centering muscles at your low belly. You can stay here and just fold over your legs, or inhale, reach your arms straight out in front of you and look between your hands. Squeeze between your shoulder blades to provide strength and momentum for your arms. Squeeze at your low belly to keep your spine stable as it lengthens, and you really press your tailbone backward into the chair, feet into the floor. Utkatasana, power pose, chair pose in the chair. Can you be present here also as things get a little strong and heated? How's your breath? Maybe you're like, fuck no, I don't feel like being present. But remember, present doesn't always mean like blissful or happy. It might just mean real, and this is real. We're gonna inhale, exhale, fold over your legs. Inhale, reach it up. Hands to your heart one more time as you exhale. I'm checking my time. One more time. All right. From here, I'm gonna invite us into the final phase, the final piece of this chair yoga practice, which is chair-supported mindfulness, chair-supported consciousness practice. We'll do a little meditative work together to close, about maybe 5 minutes or so. If you prefer to sit on the floor on a cushion with your back against the wall, you don't have to sit in the chair, but the chair does provide us a different kind of support. It can put a little less pressure on our hips and low back for seated practice. And it's an affirmation that there's actually no right or wrong way to do meditative practice. We don't have to be sitting on the floor in full lotus. As long as we have that spine long so that energy, that awareness can move freely, we got what we need. So perhaps using the support of the chair, you might scoot back this time so that your low back is supported by the chair, your shoulders are on the chair back, but again, we'll resist the instinct to round backward and keep that length in the spine so that there is free movement and connection within. You can rest your hands and arms in any way that's comfortable. Palms down is grounding, palms up is energizing and receiving. You might be familiar with a mudra, right? A yoga pose for your hands that you want to use. All good. Feel free to close your eyes. Gaze down the tip of your nose or gaze at the floor. And almost like you never left that first comfortable seat we started in, where we began the practice by stepping into the breath, stepping into that intention of presence no matter what. Maybe you just kind of drop right back into that, to that sense of presence, to that witnessing of your own breath, the present moment experience of your breath. You might actually find that it's more straightforward to drop into that presence now than at the beginning, because you've done all this work to get yourself into your body, another present moment experience. And your body is the container for your heart, for your soul, for your presence, for your spirit, whatever you want to call it. So here you are, you're present in your body, and you just drop right back into breath, to awareness, whatever that means for you. And your thoughts might take you out of it sometimes. You might find yourself on a train of thought at some point, and that's okay. There will be a moment when you realize you have gone away from the presence of your body and breath, and that moment is where the power is, because you're aware again, and you can redirect yourself back to just these clear, real tools of presence. Body, breath, whatever you feel, all of it is a present moment experience, and you just notice. We're going to add one more layer to this practice if you're feeling it. We're going to add a silent mantra, a sound to be used within your own mind that gives your mind something to focus on, that is not the chaos of your thoughts. And we're going to use the sound of Om, O-M, or A-U-M, Om. Om is the fundamental sound of consciousness. It's a Sanskrit word. And Sanskrit words are made up of vibration. Each syllable has an energy. And Om represents the energy of consciousness, the fundamental awareness that animates everything in the universe, that is deeper and bigger than our thoughts, than our day-to-day stuff. And so we'll breathe in the sound of Om on every inhale and on every exhale. Just asking to be surrounded and supported by that consciousness as we continue to work with that intention of just presence anyway. It's not always easy, but it's real. And we ask consciousness to support us in that. Just inhaling Om in your mind and exhaling Om in your mind. And you might hear it as if someone was singing it, like, oh. But you hear it vibrating within your mind, in your skull, maybe even in your heart as you inhale and exhale. Or you could simply inhale consciousness or presence, or whatever word works for you. Just breathing in and out, that intention of staying conscious, staying present no matter what. And as you breathe it in and out, it almost becomes part of your very being. And you learn to embody your own presence. You can pause this video and stay with this breath and meditative practice for as long as you'd like, but I'm gonna go ahead and close us out. So I'll invite you to take a deep breath in through your nose and sigh through your mouth, a grounding and releasing practice. Let's do 2 more like that. One more. On your next inhale, feel free to circle your palms to touch. Bring your thumbs to the center of your chest. Just presence at the heart. If it feels good, feel free to bow your forehead to your chest, bowing to your heart, your practice, our shared practice, and bowing in service of anyone who can't practice. And I offer a deep bow to you and close this practice. Thank you so much for joining me for some chair-supported yoga. Thank you for doing the work to be present anyway. In a world of suffering and chaos and hardship, that matters a lot. It takes more than just being present, but it starts with being present. So thank you. I honor you. If you have any feedback, questions, anything you want to connect on around this practice or yoga or my work in general, feel free to leave me some feedback in the comments section or find me on Instagram at Laura Tara, and we can connect there. And if this practice felt resonant for you, please do like and share and subscribe. It's been several months since I have shared a new class, but I have the intention of continuing to share these kind of virtual practices, and it's a gift. So I appreciate being here with you, and I'll see you next time.